Okay, second form. Today's topic is input devices. This is for week 7 and this is part 1. So please do know that there's another video presentation for you all after this one. Okay, so we're gonna be discussing input devices. Okay, as the title page is saying. And for us to understand input devices, we're gonna categorize it into different types of input devices. All right, but the question is, what is an input device? So data must be provided in a suitable form for any computer system, whether it's a phone, any type of computer, to be able to process it. Without data being entered into a computer, there will never be any processing that is taking place. So it is always important to think of the different ways of entering data into a computer, particularly since all data needs to be entered as accurately as possible. So the definition for input in terms of computing is that input means to enter data, programs, commands, and user responses into the memory of a computer system. So an input device is any device, any computer device that transfers data from the outside world into the computer system, just as the image here is showing you. Okay, input devices are any device that transfers data from the outside world into the computer system. Okay, so therefore an input device is any device that you can think of that in one way or another is gonna take something from outside and put it inside the computer for processing. For example, every time you use a remote control for a television, okay, or whenever you use a game console, data is entered into the computer or into the device or into the TV using a special keyboard. So there are many different input devices and media, each one being suitable for different purposes. Let's look at the two categories of input devices. The two categories of input devices are we have manual input devices and we also have direct data devices. We're gonna use this session to look at manual input devices. All right, so with manual input devices, you must enter or transfer data into the computer itself. Okay, so you must enter the data by clicking something, by pressing something, by using your hands for you to enter such data into the computer. So you do this manually. The first example and the most common example of manual input devices are keyboards and keypads. So a keyboard has a set of alphabet keys, a set of digit keys, and various function keys so that the data entered by the person operating the keyboard is in the form of individual letters, words, or numbers. So this is an example of a keyboard. I'm sure that you all have seen keyboards before. Okay. Another example is a keypad, which a keypad is a block of buttons that contain digits, symbols, or alphabetical letters. Keypads can also be found on many keyboards, and this here is an example of a keypad. Okay, so you can either have keyboards that have attached keypads or keyboards without keypads, and you can also find keypads that are gonna be by themselves, for instance in machines such as ATM machines and other interfaces that require you to enter only numbers. Okay, other special keyboards are designed to do jobs found on, for instance, children toys, game consoles, and programmable robots. So those are other special keyboards that you can also see. Now mouse. So the mouse is a pointing device. Okay, so it's the most common pointing device and it's called a mouse. As you move it along a flat surface, okay, what happens is that the pointer on the screen, as I'm doing right now with the laser, moves in the same direction. If I move the mouse to the left, it moves to one side. If I move it to the right, it moves to the other side. Okay, and the mouses usually have two buttons, most of them. The left one is used to select items such as text, and the right one is used to access menus. Okay, so there are three types of mouses, and the first one is a mechanical mouse. The mechanical mouse has a rubber ball underneath to help it roll smoothly in all directions. So if you look at this image here, underneath there's a little rubber ball that helps you move the cursor on a flat, the mouse, on a flat surface, and whenever you move this mouse, the ball moves and the cursor moves on the screen as well. The other type is the optical mouse, which uses light to track its movements. Okay, so if we were to turn to look at the bottom side of an optical mouse, we would see a red light or a red laser light. That is what allows the cursor to move. So whenever this red light moves on a flat surface, the cursor moves. Okay, I'm actually using, if you can see, an optical mouse. The other example is a cordless mouse. So a cordless mouse is also known as wireless. Okay, it doesn't physically, or it's not physically connected to the computer, but instead of using wire or a cable, it uses infrared or radio waves to communicate with the computer. This is an example of a wireless mouse or a cordless mouse. Usually these mouses come attached with a little adapter that does the connection between the mouse and the computer. So you plug this into the computer. Okay. Another example of pointing devices is a touchpad. So touchpads are used with laptops. They also do the same function as a pointing device. Okay. So whenever you move whatever is here, the cursor moves on the screen. The other type of manual input devices is document scanner. So a scanner basically allows you to transfer pictures, graphics, and text from paper to your computer. You can then take that copy and use it in a program, send it as an email attachment, or maybe send it to print. Okay, so this will be a document scanner, and as you can see, this paper will be entered into the computer, into this device. This device will make a duplicate of the paper here and then put it inside a computer system, and you can use it for many other purposes. Microphone. Okay, so remember we're talking about devices for computers. Microphone is also a manual input device. So in microphones, data can be entered into a computer through a microphone. So the computer responds to this data by carrying out This other example of manual input devices is microphone. Okay, so you can enter data into a computer through the use of a microphone. And this is an example of a computer microphone. Remember, we're not talking about those microphones that are used for singing or for musical things, but we're referring to microphones that are used for computer devices. Okay. Another form of microphone is a form that allows the computer to respond to data that is being carried out through instructions, such as turning the spoken words into text in a word processor. Okay, so you basically, what you do here is that you convert whatever you're saying, and then the software or the device will convert what you're saying into words, into text, using any other program. Okay, so these are called voice activated or voice response systems. The other example is digitizer. So digitizers convert drawings and images into data. For example, an example of a digitizer is a digital camera. Digital camera, what they do is that they capture still and video images and stores them in electronic formats for printing, for saving, or for editing later. Okay? However, we will not go into what is actually a digital camera, but we're gonna look at a camera that is used specifically in computers, and this camera is a webcam. A webcam is a type of digital camera connected to a computer. Okay? Typically, for transmission of still or moving images over the internet or other networks. Some computer users use webcams to see each other while chatting online, while video conferencing, or for streaming live videos. Other uses of webcams include monitoring traffic on highways and other surveillances. This is an example of a Logitech webcam. Okay? Most of us teachers have one of these so that we can record ourselves or so that we can have our online classes. Another type is a graphics tablet. Now these graphics tablets are not the Samsung tablets that you are used to seeing or the iPads that you see on a daily basis. No, those are types of mobile devices. These graphic tablets are devices that can capture drawings and handwritten signatures. It is usually a flat, touch-sensitive drawing surface like the image here that uses a special pen called a stylus. Okay, we'll look at these styluses later on. So if you are taking any classes with Mr. Kelvin or Mr. Miguel for science, you'll notice that they have the capabilities of using a graphics tablet for their classes, and you can actually do a lot of things with it. Okay. Touch sensitive devices. A touch screen is another way to input data. It's a screen that is sensitive to touch, so you do not need to use a keyboard or a mouse. Okay? And places that use a touch screen like this would be banks, malls, and even restaurants. Okay? So that they can provide information for customers, so that customers can place their orders, so that the tellers can enter information about the customers, etc. Okay, so this here is an example, touch here to order. So a customer will walk in, they would order their food using this touch sensitive device. Okay, another touch sensitive device is a touchpad. Okay, so a touchpad, as the image is here, is a flat rectangular surface which also senses the movements of one or more fingers on its surface. Okay, these devices are usually found on laptops, as I mentioned, and even notebooks. Okay, and function as a mouse, and the moment you move something here, it moves the pointer or the cursor on the screen. Okay, and this does the function of a right click, and this does the function of a left click. Light pen. So a light pen is similar to a mouse that can sense light, but is rarely used because touch sensitive devices have replaced this. Okay, so before people used to use this with other machines, but now we don't use them because, as I mentioned, the touch sensitive devices have replaced them. A stylus is used to draw on graphics tablet, as I showed you earlier. Okay, and a stylus is still in use because it is used specifically for signatures or for detailed drawings. So in order to avoid using your fingers, you use a stylus. But to use a light pen with other devices, then it has been obsolete. Remote control devices. So these devices send data through signals from a distance each time a button is pressed. Okay, the signal is received by another device, such as a TV, such as a device like the one on the image, and then it processes the instructions and does what it has to do. Okay, the signal is received by another device. The last type of manual input devices is biometric system. So these systems use some part of a person's body to uniquely identify them. For example, you can use the fingerprints, a face or iris recognition, as well as the size and shape of the hand. And nowadays biometric systems can even recognize your voice. So there is, however, disadvantages of using a biometric system, because sometimes a person's signature, the tone of their voice, their pitch of their voice are related to person's behavior because of how they're feeling, and it will not give you an accurate response. And also, for instance, whenever you want to lock maybe your phone using your finger might be wet, and then you will not be able to unlock it properly. Okay, so that's it. Thank you guys for your attention.